When I first started this fat loss journey, I was actually doing pretty good. I wasn't really tracking as accurately as I could have been, but I had lost like 30 pounds very quickly. That's kind of what happens when you're very overweight. Even if you mess up a lot, you're still going to lose a whole bunch of weight, even if you've changed just a few habits. But somewhere along the lines, I got stuck for 6 months straight, and I was stuck at 207 pounds. Now, I was thinking to myself that I was doing all the right things, but in reality, I needed to spend those 6 months not making no progress to realize that I wasn't actually doing the right things, and that if I wanted to take my body to the next level, that I had to do more. And because of that, I eventually went on to lose 70 pounds total. So while I was stuck for 6 months, it was very frustrating for me because I kind of felt like I was working very, very hard. And by working hard, I mean that I would be locked in from Monday through Thursday, eating all the right foods, working out hard, working out like a like an animal. But when Friday through Sunday came, I didn't go completely off the rails, but I would get a little bit more lax, just enough to the point where I was eating back a lot of my progress that I was making. And the crazy thing is, I gained this entitlement to feel like I deserve to lose weight because of all the effort I was putting in throughout the week. Because I thought, hey, I had already lost 33 pounds. But the real issue was that, yes, I lost the 33 pounds doing that exact thing. Being locked in from Monday through Thursday and kind of going off a little bit on the weekend. But all that did was get me from 240 to 207. Because when I was 240, I was eating shitty 7 days a week. And so me eating good Monday through Thursday got me there, but it wasn't going to take me from 207 to 170. And so I had to do something new that was actually going to take me from 207 to 170. Because although those little bit of habits actually helped me lose a lot of weight in the beginning, it wasn't what was going to get me to the next level. But for a long time, I was blind to that fact. For 6 months, I was blind to that fact. And I'm sure a lot of big guys can understand this. Like, you see it all the time. Big guys, they train like monsters in the gym. They lift all the heavy weights. They be on the cardio machines like crazy. But they never actually lose the fat, you know what I'm saying? And that was kind of like the mental purgatory that I was in that kept me from facing the facts and seeing, hey, maybe I need to do a little bit more. So current me now would not be confused as to why I wasn't losing weight then, because I now know that the human body does not care what day it is. It doesn't even know what day it is. It doesn't know what time of day it is. All it knows is what you actually give it, what you actually feed it. And if by the end of the week you balance out to a surplus or a maintenance, you're not going to be making progress towards the fat loss side. You see, I will go hella hard on the weekdays, and then on the weekends I would get lax. And all of that did was create a maintenance. And so I wasn't just not creating deficit. I was just getting really, really good at maintaining 207 pounds because I was still trying to basically be 1 foot in and 1 foot out of being a fat boy when I should have been all in on getting lean and looking good. But once I finally got past that hump, I realized, okay, I can't be going crazy on the weekends. So how can I accomplish a full week without going overboard on the weekends? And the only way I was going to be able to do that is if I were to lower the tempo throughout the weekdays and then just keep the same tempo from Monday to Sunday. And that way I wouldn't feel like, oh man, I'm working so hard, I need a little break. I wouldn't feel like I need a break from it, you know what I'm saying? So the whole point of what I'm trying to say is, when you feel like you need a break from something, aka you're working way too hard on the weekdays, then that's what's going to cause you to go off on the weekends. And that's what's going to cause you to end up at maintenance or worse, a surplus. and you want to be at a calorie deficit in order to lose the fat. Now, if you were to be in a smaller calorie deficit and you were to just keep going like this throughout the weekday, instead of going like this throughout the weekday and then going like this throughout the weekend, then you will actually be able to make progress throughout and maintain it for a long period of time. And so this is what people actually mean when they say one bad day won't hurt your progress. What they're actually trying to say is, if you have an average, a good weekly average, then you'll be good. But here's the issue with that. A lot of guys, they go too hard on the weekdays. They keep the calories low. They're working hard. They're having a very high activity. But on the weekend, their activity goes down and they feel like mentally, damn, I need a break from this. So what they do is they up the calories because they're inducing diet fatigue by going too hard. And it basically, because they're upping the calories on the weekend, their weekly average shows them at being at maintenance baseline. So they're maintaining their weight instead of losing the weight. Whereas if you were smarter, you would just create a diet that you can actually stick to, something that's easy to stick to, not an overly aggressive deficit, and you just do it from Monday to Sunday. And let's say you did it perfectly, right? You would be losing fat. But even if you didn't do it perfectly, because you aren't mentally putting yourself in purgatory like the last guy, even if you go over like 200, 400, maybe 500 calories, you're still going to lose 0.8 pounds instead of 1 pound. You're not going to completely wreck your progress like the other guy, because the other guy's at maintenance and you're still in a deficit. So I just gave you guys the advice to take the moderate approach from Monday to Sunday. But when I was stuck at 207, I didn't even follow this advice because I still didn't know what to do. I know now because I'm the current me, but I didn't know then. So I went in the complete opposite direction of not being lax at all. I was overly strict on myself, not just Monday through Thursday, but Monday through Sunday. I got into many aggressive cuts. And to be fair, I made a lot of progress. Like, I was losing a lot of fat very quickly. But then two things started happening that kind of made me decide not to do that anymore. Well, actually three. One, my energy was so shitty. I had something I like to call cut brain, because like some days I literally couldn't think. It was almost similar to the same feeling that you would get when you eat a bunch of shitty foods, but on the opposite spectrum, because you're hungry and you can't think. Two, I started to see a lot of strength loss in the gym, and undoubtedly I probably lost a lot of muscle at that point. Now, in the end, I ended up gaining it back, but that was after I figured out that I shouldn't be doing this. Three, the hunger pains were so bad that I had to do something to blunt my appetite, and that was eating more fiber. But I ate way too much fiber, and my guts was just getting piled up and piled up and piled up to the point one day I ended up in the ER. I was mad constipated, bro. I had like 8 pounds of poop in my guts and that I couldn't get out. Now, all these horrible side effects of trying to cut way too fast, it just went to show me that when people advocate for cutting fast, sure, it works, but at what cost? You know what I'm saying? For the regular person, it's not really advantageous for them to do aggressive cuts. But I did learn something from this. It showed me what I can and cannot sustain. So because of me being a little bit too lax in the beginning and stalling my weight, and being a lot more aggressive in the middle half and basically sending myself to the emergency room, I was able to kind of slowly find my edge a little bit. How far can I go before it's too much? How lax can I get before it's not enough? So to sum up those 6 months, on one end, I was way too lax to where I wasn't making enough progress. On another end, I was way too aggressive, doing way too much to where I was making progress, but I could not sustain this if I wanted to live. But in the end, I thought to myself, maybe there's somewhere in the middle. to the point where I don't have to go to either extreme, a realm where I can lose the fat, make just enough progress to keep me happy and mentally sane, but not go too hard to where I'm I'm dying of starvation, or too lax to where I'm not making no progress. So after all that nonsense on both ends of the extreme spectrum, I ended up here. Do the bare minimum and nothing else. Now I know doing the bare minimum, it sounds like I'm telling you to be lazy, but that's not the case at all. Sometimes the bare minimum can be very freaking hard. The bare minimum could mean conquering your food cravings. The bare minimum could mean conquering your laziness and getting up and meal prepping instead of door dashing. That stuff is hard mentally, especially coming from a person that was overly big and overly fat. Bro, that stuff is mentally tough because it's like it's ingrained into your mind. The thing about habits is they're very hard to break, especially in regards to food, because being addicted to food is like being addicted to drugs. You go through withdrawals, like you know how the food tastes without even tasting it, like crazy wild stuff like that. And some of you guys, if you're watching this video, if you've never been fat or you've never ever like been like addicted to food, you don't know what I'm talking about. For my fat guys out there, you know exactly what I'm talking about. That stuff is hard, but conquering those things are the bare minimum. So when I say do the bare minimum, I mean only do what is necessary. Because when you get overzealous with it and you try to do way too much, that is what actually keeps you stagnant, oddly enough, in a kind of roundabout way. Because you heard my story. In the beginning, I tried to go crazy, tried to go way too hard on the weekdays, and then on the weekends, I'd be too lax. I feel like I need a break from it, and I would stay the same. And then when I tried to do more than the bare minimum, I ended up in the damn ER, bro. So do the bare minimum in order to get to your goals. If the bare minimum for you is literally just walking every day, do that. If the bare minimum for you is literally just walking every day, lifting weights only 3 times per week, not 6. If the bare minimum for you is lifting weights 3 times a week, get 10,000 steps a day, and that's all you can do, then do that. Don't try to get 20,000 steps a day. Don't try to run 10 miles a week, because that's unnecessary. You try to do that, you're going to burn out and you're going to end up being stagnant. So just do the bare minimum and be skeptical of things that are not necessary for your goals. Find a minimum effective approach and then just get really, really good at repeating that over and over and over again for months, and then eventually for maybe a year or two, depending on how fat you are.